if they allowed the unity of the people so strong, we would probably end up ruining ourselves
Maybe.
because we, like, I don't know. That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. It's a real tough one.
Those in positions of power, for some reason, don't want us to be unified, but I don't know why that reason is.
Strength in numbers.
Yeah, there's strength in numbers, but
If we become unified, then surely people in those positions of strength will lose their positions of strength due to conflicting interests between these leaders.
yeah. So if we had like 1,000 strong army march to the doors of like a association of 10 people, even though they've got all the wealth, we have manpower to sit them down and say, you're not going nowhere. We're now taking over. You think that they kind of know that could be a possibility?
If we were all unified and we didn't follow, say, the government who are in power, we've taken their power away
Yeah.
because we give them the power to govern us. But if we all united and said, no, we don't need you as our leaders. We don't need to vote for you. We're just, we're all right. We're a unified nation. They would have no control. They wouldn't know what to do because they need us
To need them.
to be in power. Because
Yeah,
without
yeah.
us, they've got no one to govern.
So there's this tactic that I read on a book by, oh God, what's his name? But he talks about the problem, reaction, solution. It's an old government tactic where they will create a problem, wait for our reaction, then give us the solution, just to keep us in a state of needing them.
Mhm.
And
The
that's,
same people that um, create the problem will create the disease will create the cure. They'll sell you the people. What is the saying? The same people that create the disease will sell you the pill.
yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, exactly. And then that ties into what we talked about earlier, the death of JFK, the murder of JFK. Like how these people are prepared to make an example of someone to almost like back more fear, you know, just to install more fear.
And they say that he wanted to do good,
Yeah, he did. I bet he
and
did.
they had to stop him from doing. I'm
Mm.
surprised Donald Trump was never assassinated. I really am. I just, I don't know. I think back then they could get away with it, couldn't they?
I can't believe how the propaganda machine works so well in that Barack Obama initially to me was so attractive, not in like any sexual way, but in attractive in the sense that there goes a person who looks presentable, looks well spoken, good smile, good handshake, knows what to say at the right time. There goes our leader, right? But in actual fact, he wasn't what we needed. We're still at war whilst Obama's around, and then in comes Trump, and we ain't been nowhere. He's pulling troops out. Wait a minute, this guy's the guy. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
He's doing what we all want. Zero war, help people out. You might, then people say, well, what about that wall he wants to build and all this and that? I'll be like, that's minor. Don't worry about that. Maybe he knew that it's a numbers game to get votes, and he knew there's probably a lot more. Uh, I don't want to call them idiots, but that's not fair because it's not fair. But there's a lot more people that he could get on side if he acted a certain way just to get numbers, to get him where he needed to be. And then once he's there, he's got to he's there now. He can do what he needs to do. I think he was very tactical and very smart to do that, because he knew he wasn't going to win the votes of people who are already invested in other politicians like Obama and Clinton, because why bother? I need to go for the demographic of people who probably don't vote, probably because, I'm not being funny, it's just way, I could embarrass some people now or even insult some people, but you're rednecks, you're out there, people that don't want to, I'm not voting, but Trump's my man, I'm voting for Trump. But why? Because he's Trump. That's it. He knew. He's like, I'm going for them people.
Right.
And there's probably like 3 of those people to every one, not sane person, but every one Clinton vote or Obama vote. So he knew, I've got to play up, I've got to act up just to get my numbers, get the votes. Once I've got those, I'm in. And he did it. And I'm glad he did it, because, like I said about the war efforts, he pulled troops out. He wasn't for it. Oh.
I've always felt like someone like Trump. Obviously, he said, like you said, he's said a lot of things that he's like, I'm going to say it, but he shouldn't have said it because he's upset a lot of people the way he says things. And he always, what's funny is he always denies that he's ever said them. He's like, I never said that. And they're like, you definitely said that. But I've always felt like it takes someone like him to push the buttons in America, to make things happen, to pull people out of war. Like you said, to say as we're talking about globalists as such, I'm coming for you and you're not going to do this and you're not going to do that. Because if it was someone that could be bought, somebody who didn't know everything before he became president.
Yeah.
He reminds me like he'd have like a character behind him, like if you've seen Game of Thrones, like the character Spider, who knows everything that's going on. Trump reminds me of the type of person that would know everything that was going on and always knew that when it came to that vote, they were going to try and push him out as best as they could. And obviously they succeeded. It's a conspiracy in itself. I won't go into it.
Totally agree, man. I totally agree. When someone can be bought, they are then owned. And unfortunately, like Barack Obama, for example, he probably had intentions of changing things. But when you're owned, you got to do as your master says. That's real harsh to say that, because I'm sure Obama has been through some struggles in life to get him where he's at. He probably earned to get into that position and whatnot, but he ain't got the same leverage as Trump. Trump was in circles of like ruling elite, so to speak, before he was president. He probably had a lot of friends, and that are no longer his friends because he really did what he tried. He tried to make a change, make a difference. Watched a documentary on Netflix about this pedo, Jeffrey Epstein, and how he's got like, it's called Filthy Rich, and how Trump and him were mates, and how Bill Clinton and him were mates. This character, Jeffrey Epstein, was, lurking around. He had loads of political connection, pay people off, had dirt on people. He got taken out of the game when eventually it all came down. But Trump denies ever being friends with him when the time was right, even British royalty. Yeah, even
together.
Yeah, and there's even British royalty tied to this Jeffrey guy. Now, I'd never heard of this Jeffrey guy ever until Netflix made a documentary about him, and I'm sure he ain't the only one. So when we're talking about these people that...
The minute that Prince Andrew had to do that interview, that was it. Jeffrey was going to be popped. Like, because he's royalty, and you mess with the royals, you ain't going to come out alive, are you? So
No.
100%, yeah.
And that's another conspiracy. I honestly I'm not bowing to the Queen. I made a vow that I won't bow to the Queen. If she knocks on my door, honestly, I feel like I'm going to be like, right, just hold there. Let me take a selfie, because you obviously knocked on my door, but I'm not going to help you. Whereas if Harry and Meghan knocked on my door, they're come in, cup of tea, chill
I
out, sit on the
love them.
sofa. You
I
guys
love
can
them.
stay the night. Anything you
Yeah.
need, I'll tell you what, I'll stand guard
Because
on
they've
the
gone
door.
against
No one's
it.
coming in. Yeah, and I think it's because when you're Harry, for example, you're not stupid.
Hmm.
When you are young and you're walking at your mother's funeral, you're too young to understand what's gone on, what's happened. You actually will think it's a car crash. When you're our age now, which he is, fucking right, mate. Turn around and tell him to do one. Can't believe it. You thought that you could just, you thought I was going to believe this for the rest of my life?
Hmm.
I'm not having it. And I'm done. I'm out. And I honestly would defend him
Hmm.
with knives if I have to. I
Hmm.
will stand. I don't know what it is about him or Meghan, but they've got me. They've got me there. I'll back them all the way. I'll march through the Arndale shopping centre with them. I'll protect them. I'll swing anyone. Do you know what I mean? That's how loyal I am to them. I don't even know them because I don't see him as one of them. But like I said, if
I
the
think
Queen
he's
knocked on the
amazing
door,
for just going in and going against the grain and not being told and controlled by them and getting the hell out, going to a different country and making sure she doesn't die in a car crash herself.
there you go. And it must really pain him. He doesn't show it on camera. He's always presentable. He's been taught etiquette very well.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet he was going home, going behind the scenes and just, I don't know, man,
Everybody
losing
can
his
go on
mind.
Google. Everybody can go on Google and read and see, and those boys have done that.
Yeah,
That
that's
they've.
what I mean. They must talk to each other, both of them. Just be like, when they get their private time as brothers and been like, I need to kill the guy that killed mum.
Mm.
I want to kill grandma.
I would have killed Grandma.
Grandma killed mum. Let's kill grandma. As silly as it sounds.
Well, if she walks on their lawn in California, technically you can shoot her for trespassing. So
There you go.
You'll
And
probably
again,
feel the same way because did she buy a house for them? And then they're like, yeah, don't want it. We're moving to America.
yeah,
good. Flipping right, mate. And she's lived a long life, the Queen.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for
Unnatural
anybody
life.
that is born into the royal family because that is no life. It is no life. And I know people think, oh, the royal family, all the luxury, the palaces, but your duty and you just lose the chance of an actual life, a private life. And I just couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it.
We touched on this before about we're talking about conspiracies now, and I know we're going into more talking about the depths of just modern climate. And there's always, always a sense of trust that isn't there whenever there's mention of royal family, ruling elites, trust in the government. We know not to 100%. The only problem we got is we ain't got no one in them circles fighting for us. And again, what's it going to take for all of us to come together and fight back, do this revolution, do this fight? Because all of our strong leaders, our strong characters, they get ruined. Trump, for example, will get made by the propaganda machine or the media machine to look like an absolute buffoon. Doesn't know what he's doing. When in actual fact, we've established he was quite smart. And then even like I was listening to Michael Jackson the other day, and I know that he's a bit of a pedo, or was he made out to be, and that he didn't have the best life, as childhood upbringing, trauma created the monster in his mind that he eventually became. But his song lyrics, man, I mean, as an adult now, I can read those and just be like, yo, this guy was our Jesus Christ. He was talking about the Earth song. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, they don't really care about us. Some of these scream, like those 4 songs. Just go Google the lyrics of those songs and read them. It's gonna be like, whoa. And he used his power to try and do the good fight. Don't give up the good fight. And then with the influence you have. And that's the same with Tupac Shakur,
They
uh,
didn't want him to be that way.
Diana.
They didn't want him to go down that route and be that way. They wanted to mold him and have him the way they wanted him, to make money out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they do most of these people, that people tend to get really big and they have such an impact on their fans, and they're a huge influencer. They don't want those types of people influencing us via their lyrics, or their interviews, or their outbursts that they have. They don't want us to. They
yeah.
have to
There's
quieten those voices.
That's the correlation with my friend Efe he's a religious man, reads the Bible. He told me about Jesus Christ and how, they made this book and story of Jesus Christ and how he was a influencer. That man could pull a crowd of thousands of people before the use of technology. It was all word of mouth. We need to go and listen to this man speak. This man is talking truth that can save us, bring us together, peace, love, all that good stuff. This man would bring in a crowd of thousands, just like a social media influencer, just like your Michael Jackson. And lo and behold, he was nailed to a cross, made an example of,
Yeah, I always felt he was the first of his kind.
crucified, man. Like your MJs, your Dianas. It's
That's the thing. I don't think it's different. It's all that's different is that it's different times, but it's still happening. So we think that's like an old age story. It's still happening.
Yeah.
Those who are trying to get things out to the world end up, they drowned in a boat accident. Oh, they were found dead in their hotel. That's like that famous chef that I can't remember his name, but he had been using his Twitter to highlight things, I think, to do with like Hillary Clinton and paedophile rings and all this other stuff. And he kept going on his Twitter and saying he knows so much about these people, so much about these people. And he was out in France, south of France, filming his next series of his cooking program. And this was only a few years ago, literally. I'll have to find his name. And he was found dead in his hotel room. They went to wake him up to start filming the next day, and he was found dead. And he told his family, he told people, even on his social media, he said, "If ever I'm found dead, I have not committed suicide. I'm happy, I'm fine, but I'm not going to stop telling the world what's going on or what I know about certain people who should not be in power." And he was found dead. He's in the south of France filming his new season of his program, and he's found dead.
yeah,
Funny that.
It's funny because obviously we were on the conspiracy of the Illuminati. I don't know if you've seen the interview of Jim Carrey comes on a talk show. Have you seen that one?
nah, go on.
Yeah.
Where he comes on and starts doing all the Illuminati signs and starts saying to the producer, obviously, oh, you don't make out, you don't know what that is. Everyone knows what that is, and he's like, "What is it?" And he goes, "That's the sign of the Illuminati." And then he just went quiet after that. There was just nothing. I think there was a couple of other interviews, but other than that, he just went quiet. It was so random.
Yeah, so, okay. Eminem,
Anthony Bourdain was his name, the chef.
Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, look
Eminem,
him up.
at one time, in the peak of his career, tried to go against Bush, made a song called Mosh. Like, he was using his influence, his platform, the best way he could. And then after that album, mate, didn't hear from him from a couple of years. Next thing you know, he's been drugged up, taking pills. He had to make an album called Recovery, which was shit. No offense, mate, but it took him a lot to get back to where he was, or just to be happy again and whatnot. Because, yeah, like we say, you start prodding the wrong people,
They will literally, and they will tell them, we can ruin you overnight. They can ruin people's lives. They'll have stories out in the paper the next day that they've raped someone, or they're a pedo, or they've done this, they've done that, to ruin people's careers and livelihoods. They can do it like that. So which is better, getting propped or having your life ruined and people thinking you're somebody you're not because you tried to speak out against it?
But for them
You know,
to
if it's too obvious to kill you, so they ruin you instead. Like,
Yeah, if they know they can't kill you, they will drive you
if
to
they know they
insanity,
can't
like
kill you,
wacko
they will
jacko.
ruin your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll make you wacko jacko. They'll
It's
turn
like
the
Jim
people
Carrey.
against you.
For quite a few years, Jim Carrey didn't really do, you know, there was a period of time where he just went off the radar, and they made out that he'd gone a little bit doodah and he was a little bit crazy. But it's because he was speaking out about certain things, and you know, his girlfriend, I think, died as well, didn't she, of like an overdose or something. And he
But
didn't
let's
like
say,
how
sorry,
media
I just
played.
want to say, let's say that we do manage to shut down these ruling elites. I hope the system would still maintain the way it should, naturally and progressively and happily, and we should all be fine. Because I don't understand what their agenda is. What is the problem with people being unified? Why are they so fearful of us knowing the truth? Is it because they are sick? Is it because they are sick, like they are pedos? Because, you know, I feel like this session's going to go on longer. If you guys don't have anywhere to be, I'm happy to stay on. 'Cause I'm quite passionate about all this kind of stuff. You know, satanic rituals, killing babies, and, you know, because baby blood is pure. I'm not a cannibal. I haven't drunk it. I'm just saying it. Newborns, they emit a certain smell. Have you ever smelt a baby? It's just like so flipping euphoric. You wouldn't believe it. Like it heals you.
It's the
It
most amazing smell.
harms you. What is that? And that's because they're pure. They haven't been tarnished with anything. They're innocent. Now, a satanic ritual might be to sacrifice 100 babies and drink their blood, because then that will be the fountain of youth, so to speak. Now, I've not done any research on this. I'm not saying I'm supporting that. I am just putting it out there to explore. If that is a possibility, and these ruling elites know that, it grants them some sort of superpower like vampires. They don't want everyone to know that.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Like, you know, we have all these films and things, and sometimes I watch films and it might be a bit crazy or a bit wacky or a bit sort of gruesome, and I think, who thought that up? Where did that come from? You know, someone's got quite a imaginative mind to think that, and then I think, has it happened before? Does it happen now? We just don't know about it.
We
There's so many things. I mean,
we spoke on a conspiracy earlier, Liz, about aliens,
right.
and we came up with a theory. Well, I managed to think this theory up about, which I'd never thought before, just now, about how they could be, no, Chris helped me, how they could be a future version of us coming back to see how we used to live, just like we dig up old sites of battlegrounds and you know, Anglo-Saxon, Vikings, stuff like that, just to learn about our past and Egyptians' tombs and stuff. Maybe the aliens are the future versions of ourselves coming back to discover what we are like. But my point is this: imagine if these aliens needed sacrifice. It can't be public knowledge. They don't want to be like that. They just needed the sacrifice. Maybe is an Illuminati that serves a higher, you know, and they must do these things because the aliens need that. So it's like, if it was public knowledge, guess I kind of lost it there.
What's that
Take
place
us all out.
in? What's that
Yeah.
place? Is it in America?
If
There's a
everyone knew
place
to take
where
us
they
out.
have that underground place where they had like aliens and stuff.
Yeah, we touched on that. Is it Area
Oh,
51, Chris, you were saying?
yeah.
Yeah, Area 51. They believe that. Well,
So
do you know? Go on.
I have to say something. My father was in the American military, and he was actually part of a documentary um, to do with UFOs when they came over, and there were sightings in Suffolk, in Bentwaters, in Suffolk, in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, I want to say, or possibly late 70s. Anyway, I only found this out recently because my dad would never talk about it.
Right.
My dad told me lots of stories about his military years and his missions that he went on. He and my grandpa both spent their whole lives in the military. And but whenever I used to ask him about the UFO sightings, when he was based in England, in Suffolk, um, he would just go quiet and he would just say, very, he just wouldn't really divulge much information about it. And then when he came here to visit me a few years ago, a couple of years ago, sorry, for Christmas, he came for Christmas. I took him. I drove to Bentwaters, Suffolk, and drove to where he went. And we walked around, and he sat and he spoke to me. And I said, because I actually found out he was part of a documentary through my friend. My dad had never told me about the documentary because my friend watched it somehow on some random channel, and she said, "Lizzie, I saw your dad on the documentary about aliens, about UFOs that were seen over Suffolk in the 70s." And so I spoke to him about it. And I don't know if it's because I took him back to the site or what have you, but he told me that he was there that evening and that they did see a UFO. He also told me that he signed copious amounts of paperwork to never repeat that sentence. Now, I can say this because my father died last August, so nothing's going to happen to him. But he said that he and a couple of the other guys that were there on shift that night all had to sign documents to say that it didn't happen and that it was all made up and it wasn't, nothing was seen.
I'll just say that has literally made my whole day hearing that. I've always wondered if people have signed documents and all of that stuff. And we've discussed it at uni so many times.
My father told me when we were at the base, he said that he was never able to discuss it. And whenever I used to touch on it, it's like it would bring back the fear of something happening if something was said, even though he was retired and old. But I was so grateful that he told me, what they saw and stuff. And then he told me about the documentary. But I said to him that I've watched so many documentaries about it. So I obviously had missed the one that he was in that my friend had found. But yeah. So I was probably beforehand like, oh, I don't know. Unless I see it myself, I won't believe it. But now I do believe there is something else out there. My dad, for years, as I was growing up, always said to me, we're not the only ones. There's something else out there. So
And the thing is, I got a friend. I say I got a friend. The two guys that own Essex Boot Camp, the company that I franchise my boot camps from, they went to Bentwaters. They stayed the night and they didn't have a comfortable sleep. And he said this to me. I speak to him and he said to me, Jules, there's something there. I can't explain to you what it is, but there's something there. We didn't sleep that night. We couldn't sleep that night. And they did a fun day. Liz, you went to Ant Middleton's half day, the day camps. It's like that. It's like a big event they were doing years ago, and it's in exactly the same place you said. And he said, Jules, it's just I couldn't explain to you. There's bunkers, Jules, deep bunkers there, and you ain't getting in them. There's like concrete walls, mate, thick as your house to stop you getting in there. It might not be to stop you getting in. What's it trying to stop getting out? And this kind of, and I was like, mate, I was just listening to him like, and he goes, Jules, man, we tried to sleep that night at there and it weren't happening. You won't sleep. And I don't know if that's because there's like a force field emitting from something, but now your story, and what you've said, I was just listening, just thinking in my head the whole time. I remember Jim saying about this.
There
That
was
is,
something
Conversation.
that I stumbled across about a year ago. I don't think it is as secretive, but you just don't know what's there. I was doing a field trip on an island off of Scotland called the Isle of Arran. It's just sort of directly west of Glasgow, and it's often off the coast, so it's not on the mainland. And I was walking around this small island. You can walk around it in a day. I was on the east coast of the island between, there was a large sort of, it was basically a sea. It was quite far between the coast and Scotland, the mainland of Scotland. And we were on the side of this hill taking some data and stuff. And these two fighter jets come flying down along the sea, not that far from like sea level. And then it was only later when we got back to our where we were staying and we looked it up. But there's a military base underwater in between this channel. And you can't see it. We had no idea, and we were basically on the beach of this island. And it just goes to show that you don't know how big it is because it's underwater. And that, in comparison to the rest of the world, that ocean is minuscule compared to what other things could be around. And that links back to your big concrete, what's keeping people out and what's keeping it from getting out. But they're obviously hiding it because it's underwater.
yeah. And even the knowledge of this with us, our group, it's enough to make you almost say, I suppose I've got to just keep plodding along. I can only make a life with what I'm given, right? I'm going to make the best life I possibly can within the remit that I can. However, there are other human beings on this earth just like me. They bleed the same, they shit the same, piss the same, probably have, family that go through the same trauma, or the same drama, or the same, exposure to COVID, cancer. They're just the same as us. I can't live knowing that they know it and I don't. Not that I can't live, I'm living, but they know it and I don't. And if I did, what gives them the right to tell me I can't share that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How come you can have that and I can't?
Mm-hmm.
And if the truth is you can't handle the truth, try me. We're quite happy to have this conversation now. What makes you think we can't handle it?
Well, I think for a long time though, that probably wouldn't have been the case. But I just think as generations change, that they can now. There's more and more people, like you said, that are opening up to the idea of whether it be aliens or something mythical or anything like that. Definitely.
It's funny that we can really lose ourselves in films like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel. You keep them, there's loads of films. And we can really enjoy them. Maybe because they're filmed away and directed away and the narrative is the good guys win at the end. And we can really, really love it. However, if it was a reality, it'd be a different story. Maybe that's why. There could be a kraken in the bottom of the ocean that they've put in a concrete cage. Do not let that fucker out. People love it on screen, but if it was to be released, Godzilla, he's staying right next to it. He ain't coming out. Don't let him out. Bentwaters, yeah, that's where the Hydra is. Keep that in there, that four-headed beast. Do not let that out, or three-headed. Yeah. Crazy, man.
I just started watching that American Gods. You watch that?
Go on.
American Gods. It's on Amazon Prime, and I must admit, the first 3 episodes, I had no idea what was going on. But what it is it's a war between old gods and new gods. Now, the old gods are like Odin, Thor, Spring, and Spring creates Jesus as a god, many different Jesuses. Basically, the gods are created on what people believe.
Mm.
Now, the old gods are obviously, most people don't believe in Odin anymore. Do you see where I'm going with it? And the new gods are world, so Mr. World, as in, so they don't believe in religion anymore, they believe in the world.
Yeah.
And then you've got technology. There's even a god for Twitter and social media. So the new gods are trying to get rid of the old gods, basically. It's madness.
There's
It's really
You're
crazy
going to
world.
love this, Chris. Yeah, there's a book here that I read called Some, and it's about life after death. And one of the possibilities is that when you go to heaven, you're placed amongst the gods, but not just one god or two gods. There isn't one. There's all these gods that we have created over time, and they had their heyday, and then because no one believes in them anymore, they just kind of become normal. And then you realize when you're in heaven that they're just the same as you, but they suffer worse than you because there was a time when they were prime, when they were the zeitgeist, right? And when they're not, they're no longer godlike,
Yeah.
you know. And they move around heaven the same as we do. They linger the same, and even though they're in heaven, their followers eventually join them. And because their followers join them, they used to, you could imagine if you believed in Christianity and you did think Jesus was the Son of God and you had this in your mind. When they say, never meet your idols, you're going to be extremely disappointed. When you die and go to heaven and you meet your God, you might be really disappointed. You're like, oh, God, I'd imagined you to be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. Gods are given power in the imagination. And that probably ties into how people imagine these ruling elites are a lot more powerful than they are.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think the ruling elite would be very ignorant to think that we don't know. I think they must keep their secrets very secret. Their very existence, hangs in the balance of their mystery. They can't be discovered. If they are exposed, they're fucked. So that's probably why they do create puppets and they do create wars between us, because they don't, they're trying to constantly keep us away from who they are. So why not throw in a conspiracy every now and then? Why not just keep us guessing? For all we know, Liz, I'm not trying to debunk what you said, but they may have created their own UFO.
Yeah.
Just to make your dad think
I
that
said the
he
same.
saw
I said
something
the same.
and then
We don't
sign
know.
paperwork. Yeah, make the lie so believable that it's not believable. It now makes us create these conspiracies. You and I went to Afghanistan, Chris, and don't get me wrong, Taliban fighters, but who's to say that they didn't have like some secret ninjas just every now and then popping up and spraying shots at us and then scaring the shit out of us, and then we were just left to shit ourselves and fight back, and then I don't know, retreat or keep going, and only to get there and realize they must have moved on, and then they plant IEDs in the night. And I did think that once.
It certainly felt like it sometimes, mate.
I felt like I was out there just thinking, mate, I'm getting a bit suspicious now,
Yeah.
and it did feel like that to a degree. Hey,
I suppose that's where propaganda comes in, though, doesn't it?
yeah.
That's what created way back from sort of World War II, and that's when it was at its best, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, they need to get public support, don't they? They need to get the backing. So even like the World Trade Centers, flipping hell. I don't want to go into it too much.
Yeah.
I say I know, I don't know. That's the worst thing, but I think it's an inside job. Just because there's too much, back to what Lucas said, it's easier to call something out without evidence than it is to prove that it wasn't. But 9/11, man, like the buildings, like planes going into a building,
So
and it
many
wasn't like it wasn't
questions.
it wasn't like a near miss. Do you get what I mean? Like they were in it. That may who knows? There could have been a tracking beacon in them buildings with an autopilot that just went.
I believe in in my podcast, when we actually obviously we spoke about the 9/11 conspiracies, and one of them was that a passport was found after the building had actually fell amongst like all the A4 paper, and that passport was believed to have been one of the hijackers on the plane, which is just absolute madness. It's
Because this
madness,
pa-
but
this
honestly,
this passport's like flame proof, heat proof. Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay. What?
Didn't they also
exactly.
find two passports of those guys that went into that musical venue in France that shot all of those people that were at that music venue in Paris, I think it was. And they said, oh, their passports were by where they blew themselves up inside Oh yeah, because they carry their passports around with them, don't they?
Yeah, it's like police brutality, like on the highest level. They can't. They have to frame. They frame someone. All this. See, that's another thing as well. Talking about ruling elites. Sometimes I don't think it's a world organization. Sometimes I just think it's America. It's just in that country. I don't mean to be funny or rude. I mean, don't get me wrong. We are like a state of America. We're just British. But when it comes to other countries like Russia, maybe they've got a whole batch of conspiracies of their own, or Africa, or what country in Africa, or Brazil, China, Australia. Keep going, and eventually it all boils down to most of these conspiracies actually only stem from America. Like, there's no ruling elite in China. They've got it pretty down. Like they probably try. Places like Norway or Finland. I don't know, one of those Nordic countries. They're all in unity. They've got their shit together. I think I might have to go take a visit there. I don't know,
Yeah,
but yeah,
Sweden's amazing, amazing.
yeah, Sweden and that.
Yeah,
They
man.
seem to have it sussed.
I think with those countries, I mean, a lot of the people there, I mean, I don't suppose they talk about it. I feel that they have that feel of that Vikings feel in their bloodlines. Like you said, they all come together so well within just not just the people, but the governments in those countries as well. They're all on board, aren't they? I'm
Yeah,
going to try and
yeah.
do it.
I don't know what country it is. I think it's Norway. But when you have a baby in Norway, I don't quote me on it. But if you have a baby in Norway, do you know you get a baby box, and in that baby box you get a cot. The box is a cot. It's got a mattress. It's got like clothing for the baby. It comes with a DVD to tell you what to expect, what to do, and that
I
is
think that's
free.
Denmark, isn't it? Is it
Oh, it's
Denmark?
Denmark. Right, you get a baby box, and the mum and the dad get leave off
Yeah,
of work paid
they
for.
do.
Like
Denmark. Yeah.
they're all over it. They're just like, listen, you're having a baby. This is what
Free
we're supposed to.
childcare.
Yeah, until you're
Yeah.
back at work, and then all this, and that's all paid for by you because you pay your taxes. It's all sorted. We got it under wraps. We got it controlled. And they're like, yeah, that's the government I need. Thank you, government. Yeah, I mean, you have no reason to not trust them. Whereas our
Mm-hmm.
governments are just like.
They say it's one of the happiest places on the planet to live there and to grow, to
What?
best place to have a family.
Right.
Yeah, sounds it.
Trust, man. Like
I want
they've
to
got
go
their
now.
shit together. Yeah, they got it together.
Yeah.
Our government, I don't even want to say. Maybe it's because we just ain't got it together. We're electing people that just ain't got it together. That, you know, maybe it's just too much effort.
I
People
think
can't be
it's
asked.
whether the country that their government has an agenda. I think it comes down to these agendas and things, really.
Mm, yeah, totally. Wow. Guys, we just done like a 2 hour special right here on this one. And I, you know, again, can't thank you enough again for being involved. Chris, you know, extra thanks because it's because of your podcast that sparked us to have this Elite Thinking Club conspiracy topic, you know. And guys, if you haven't already, follow Chris and, you know, Chicken's Chat podcast. It is awesome. Well, I really enjoy it.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, guys, let's leave it on that, you know, because I think we're gonna need to just to keep a level of sanity, right? But like I do with everyone and every closing, everyone everywhere, peace and love. Take care, guys. See you next
Yeah,
week. See you next week. God, man.